Welcome back, and many thanks for staying with us on your number one newspaper program. Right about now, we've been joined by media consultant Obadiah Mbila, the founder of Lovework Media. You're welcome to the program this morning.
Thank you very much. Good morning.
Good morning. It's great to have you on the show again.
Thank you so much.
You know, Annabel, it's always very beautiful having Obadiah with us, because it's just like whenever we call him, he's always
his family.
Yeah, it's family. Okay. All right, now let's get started from the very one that is rocking the whole country right now. It's just a single election in a state, but it feels like a general election at this moment. For the first time, we are seeing a situation whereby a candidate is reading an appreciation speech for an election that has not been concluded. It's quite surprising. For the first time, we are seeing a situation where the electoral commissioner is announcing. Is announcing assuming the office of the returning officer. So many things happening in Kaduna State. But then I want to let's get your summary of it, and with time I would want to talk about what this trend is doing to our democracy, the impact it's going to have on our democracy.
Yeah, for the wound to get healed, you have to expose the wound first before you start giving treatment. The happenings in Adamawa is a very great revelation about the composition and the contradiction that is called INEC. It has thrown up not the secret that we do not know, but a situation where a security officer is forced to reveal certain things that have taken place behind the curtain. It's making the whole thing intriguing and quite interesting too. You see two different officers, one from the INEC side in Adamawa, usurping the power of the electoral commissioner, usurping the power of the returning officer, and the way and manner he was carrying out his job. You don't need anyone to tell you what must have happened behind the scene. Here was electoral commissioner who has no business in announcing or declaring whoever that wins, but decided to bring commissioner of police along with him, and then going ahead to announce a result with no figure that correspond to whatever thing he's announcing, just like someone that has been paid and he wants to carry out his job, lest they'll demand that he'll do a refund. So he has done his job and he can justify whatever thing that has gone into his pocket. That's what he shamelessly did in Yola yesterday. And as if that is not enough from the side of the INEC, here is an officer of the Department of State Security whose responsibility is to ensure that every abnormality, every security threat is exposed and nipped in the bud. But to the contrary, he was an accomplice in the transaction. He was the one that was even singing, revealing how much has been released. How much was released? He said, I know it's running into billions, but I didn't say it's 2 billion as being reported. How much did you get? And he went ahead to announce what share he took. A member of this Department of State Security.
But then how come it's only the INEC rec that you just keep hearing of his prosecution? Nobody hears about the DSS or the security official.
Two people were at the front burner in the happenings at Adamawa at Yola yesterday. One, an INEC official. That doesn't mean that there were no other INEC officials that compromised. But apparently you can understand that the returning officer may probably have refused to justify the announcement. And so the REC decided to sideline him. We're assuming that that's actually what happened, because the REC knows that it's not his business to announce the winner. But he went on ahead to do that in company with the commissioner of police, the commissioner of police in Adamawa State. So there may be others that are in the ring, but the one that we saw yesterday very clearly was one from the DSS and the other one from INEC.
All right. Now you talked about, since we're still talking about that sham of an election, like so a lot of people called it. I saw some social media comments, and then some people saying that for this kind of case, it is INEC. When you ask, show me your friend, and I will tell you who you are. After all, that this is so almost what happened during the presidential election.
Oh yes, of course.
And then the person also says that INEC has no moral standing or no moral grounds to actually prosecute such person. Now, in all of this, now you still recall the election that took place in, I think it's in Kano State, where you have Dogara, who came out, Dogowa rather, who came, Dogowa, who he's even in, we saw how he was taken away by the security officials, and then even at this time, he still came out as the winner. And then I recall INEC saying that he will be prosecuted and they will remove his name from that election. With all that happens, so how much are we even doing
we are
aside from the electoral umpire?
We are seeing INEC and the ruling party APC coming all out to destroy our democracy, and it's quite unfortunate. It is even more disheartening when you review the caliber of men that are behind this criminality, to be those that are in control of our universities, to be the one that are grooming the leaders of tomorrow. Then whatever impact they are making in the life of our young ones can just be imagined from the manifestations.
Sorry, I has got in. When I was watching some of these elections with a friend of mine, and then she just said, look at the way this professor is even pronouncing words. So he cannot even pronounce very well, and yet he'll come to class and then he would start
fail students
and even threaten them
for little mistakes.
The truth about it is that we have lost our values, and those that should be at the vanguard to make sure that we retrieve our society are the ones that are perpetrating this act.
But then the drama in Adamawa State right now, how much backwards has it taken our democracy? Because definitely this is not a good one, considering the fact that we headed into an electioneering season after a newly amended electoral act that was supposed to fix this anomalies.
Like this,
but then it feels more like the last electioneering season came with so much more questions than we've ever had.
Before you take that, let's quickly announce to our viewers that our phone lines are now open, so you can call in to make your contributions and ask your questions. Please go ahead.
Yeah. Let's put it this way. What is it that we have learned in this last election? From the presidential and National Assembly election, we saw a Nigeria community, Nigerian voters, who were willing to jettison the old order, who were so excited that they now have a choice. In the past, they used to be boxed into a corner where they don't have a choice. Then suddenly, a third force came up, and they all embraced it. And while they were embracing it, those who were perpetrating the abnormalities thought it was a child play. They didn't take them serious. So with the wave that came with the presidential election, those, as the students and the young people used to call them, the ancestors, immediately stood up and realized that it is not business as usual. If we don't do anything now, power is leaving our domain. So they rose up and made sure that they mutilated the system beyond recognition. They put money into the system to the extent that they can even compromise an angel.
Oh wow, that's a huge one. Let's quickly take this call. Hello, good morning.
Yeah, Orji and the Princess, beautiful morning to you.
Beautiful morning to you.
Obadiah, beautiful morning.
Thank you very much.
You are on to FND from Lagos.
Good to have you on the show.
Thank you very much, Orji. Let me quickly appreciate you, Elder, for your statement and then your presentation. This is what we expect from a media personnel like you. Thank you very much. May God bless you. Francis, in your open presentation, you talk about National Orientation Agency. Before I begin, let me mention the remaining four. National Orientation Agency, Federal Radio Corporation of Nigeria, News Agency of Nigeria, and Police of Nigeria, National Television Authority. These are the federal government agencies who are to advocate government policies and some other things that will develop the nation. And that National Orientation Agency has office in each and every local government, if I'm not mistaken. That is to say, 774 local governments. I'm sorry to say, but I don't know if they are doing it, but Nigerians will say. But honestly speaking, they are not doing what we expect from them. I hope and pray this time around they will do the needful. And let me come to the what Elder has said. I said there is long ago. We Nigerians, I am included, we need general societal reorientation. Before maybe we can patch the cracking wall. Because there is no how at 63 of independence, 109 of at least amalgamation, but we are still facing challenges of citizenship. We are still facing challenges of birth certificate if you are not belong to that. What do you expect when it comes to election? Remember, when it comes to election, Adamawa is a very complex environment. It has to do with religion, it has to do with ethnicity. Now the question is, who gives that Red Commissioner the moral justification to do what it is? Within anywhere in the Electoral Act. Are we saying that we never learn how to respect our institution? Where is the APC stakeholders, which they know that they were accepting almost 10 local government results, asked you to come out and jubilate? What message are you sending to the Nigerians? Let me appreciate INEC for avoiding distance themselves from the announcement and even cold admission. But I hope and pray this man will just be punished. He must. I said he must, honestly speaking. Because this is a big slap to the nation, a big slap to the umpire, because we cannot use just ordinary one person to judge the umpire. So to me, it's a big slap to the umpire, it's a big slap to the nation. And something has to be done. Thank you very much. I remain SMG from Lagos.
Thank you, SMG from Lagos, for your contribution. Very well taken. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, my sister.
Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning.
One of my uncle there watching on the television now.
All right.
Good morning.
Tell us your name and where you're calling us from.
My name is Michael. I'm from the local government Adamawa State.
Oh, great. How is Adamawa State today, Michael?
We are always tuning this station in order to watch what is happening in Nigeria.
Awesome. All right, tell us your contribution.
And we are grateful for all the position that has been taking place now.
Thank you so much.
You know, Adamawa State, the indigenous of this state are very educated. It is only the rubbish one that they want to cause trouble and confusion in Adamawa State. We know we have a great leaders, right from PDP, people like Bamanga Tuku, people like Atiku Abubakar, people like Honorable Jibril from Kenya local government. These are people that educate themselves in uniting themselves together with the governor of Adamawa State. We make this unity in order to build Adamawa State, not to frustrate Adamawa State. But by some people that want to cause confusion in Adamawa State, we thank the governor of Adamawa State by making a press release. Now our people should unite together, keep calm to listen to their leader, to unite together the way the country will unite together. So that's what keeps us, our mind put down. We are now watching on what is going to take place between today and tomorrow to see what God is going to intervene. Because we need peace, we need unity, we need progress. Only very few people that they only cause problem in Adamawa. They claim to be the people of Adamawa. They want to cause problem. They are the people that are causing this confusion about money. They don't want us to develop. They don't want us to grow. They don't want a good leader to lead them. That's the confusion that they are bringing. But we thank God, whatever plan they do, God is always revealing it. So we are still watching. We thank you people for enlightening Nigerians on what is happening in Adamawa and such as other states. We thank you people for that is enlightening the country in life.
Thank you so much, Michael.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you so much, Michael from Adamawa State. Very well said. All right, let's conclude on that thought before we take other headline.
Yeah, so I think I like what is happening in Adamawa State because it is self-evident. It is a proof of what the INEC is doing, has been doing, but only met a brick wall in Adamawa State. It's a revelation of what the Department of State Security, the Nigerian Police Force, all the security agencies, it's a revelation that they have compromised, and those characters that came out in the Adamawa election is just there to confirm that we are into a very, very undescribable rot.
All right, let's leave that story and move straight to other ones. Daily Trust says subsidy palliative. Federal government to pay 5,000 naira to 10 million household for 6 months. And then we recall that the report came forth saying that $800 million was earmarked to give to the most vulnerable persons in Nigeria in terms of that, as they call it, a subsidy palliative. And then I keep asking, can we actually afford that at this moment? Who are the vulnerable Nigerians? What are the yardstick to measure and say that this person is a vulnerable Nigerian? And how much would 5,000 even do? And again, have you ever seen anyone around you say that they were chosen as one of the vulnerable Nigerian to get 5,000 naira?
Let's even start from the trader money.
It's when we interrogate this, the issue of the trader money, the unconditional cash transfer, the COVID-19 palliative, all of them will begin to line up for interrogation. But for now, tell me, a government that has less than 42 days to leave the scene, securing loan. Who is going to manage this loan?
At some point they will call it a grant. At some point, other stories you hear
whether grant or loan, a repayable money is involved. If you say it's grant, for doing what? For what did you do to end that? Why were they waiting for the exit to reach this exit time
period
for this grant or loan to rear its ugly head? Why didn't they secure this at the beginning of the second term of President Muhammadu Buhari, so that he can have ample opportunity to manage what he has secured? How will they really generate the list of those who benefit from the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs? How do they generate the list of those who receive unconditional cash transfer? Why is it that the administration of a man that is reputed to be clean, a man that is reputed to be prosecuting or is disposed to prosecuting anti-corruption agenda, how come that everything that is questionable, everything that is laden with corruption or corruption story is emerging at a time when the man that was supposed to enjoy his anti-corruption posture is on seat?
Let's quickly take this call. We'll allow you continue your thoughts. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning, sir. What's your name and where you're calling us from?
Yes, my name is Mr. Balagana.
All right.
I'm calling from Niger State.
All right, great to hear from you. Go ahead. You have 1 minute.
I want to make contribution to one of the headlines.
Go ahead, please.
That is in reference to one of the headlines in the newspaper. That is in reference to governorship election in Adamawa State.
Go ahead.
You see, INEC has no power to nullify the election that has been announced. Once the election result has been announced, INEC has no power to nullify any election. Somebody cannot be sitting in Abuja that is INEC headquarters and nullify election. You see, one during there is a time that INEC declared Russia as the winner of Senator. The Resident Electoral Commissioner confirmed that he did so under duress, and yet INEC could not nullify that election. That's why the man has confirmed and said that it is under duress that he declared Russia. They went to court. They went to court, and yet Russia remained the senator. So INEC did not have power. INEC cannot sit down in Abuja and declare null election that was said in another state. The declaration should be made in the state.
All right.
If you are happy, we should go to court. That is INEC. You know, now you be made mistake.
All right.
If a mistake has been made, either by error by one state, INEC cannot nullify that election. That is my mistake.
All right. Thank you so much, Bala, for that contribution. Go ahead, please.
So you see that corruption has become endemic under the watch of a man reputed to be exposed to anti-corruption, a man that is reputed to detest corruption. Under his watch, we have had unprecedented reports of corruption here and there. Is it electoral corruption? Is it corrupting the security agencies? Is it what I would call Father Christmas way of distributing money under this administration? There has been this repeating, recurring decimal. They create loopholes so that corruption can continue to
thrive.
That is what we have seen,
So
and
sad.
that is what this so-called
Subsidy
palliative is all about.
Okay.
Let's quickly take this call. Hello, good morning. Good morning, are you there? Okay, go ahead, please.
All right, now, while you were making your submission earlier, you talked about what is happening in Adamawa State, talking about its impact to the Nigerian democracy now that a third force is rising, being one of the positives that can be taken out of the recent electioneering period. Now, I want to ask two questions at once, and I would want you to respond to both of them at once because they are both similar. Now, let's start from Imo State, the Labour Party primary elections, where two candidates emerged in a parallel election. At the national level, there are factions in the party also. the presidential candidate of the party is dealing with some issues at the moment. Do you think they can still come out of all of this, considering the fact that they have a petition before the tribunal also, and in Kogi State also, where they just held their recent primary elections, both the APC and the PDP, where Senator Dino Melaye emerged for the PDP and Ododo emerged for the APC, and there have been so many side talks in both parties. What are your takes on these very two scenarios in Kogi State and in Imo State?
In Imo State, we've seen that the intention of those that are destabilizing Labour Party is coming to fruition, because the real reason for creating a parallel National Working Committee in the Labour Party is to create this type of confusion, such that we are experiencing in Imo State, where two different state working committees conducted their own different primaries. But we know that the Barrister Abure-led National Working Committee still have their state apparatus, which is duly recognized by the National Working Committee intact, and therefore that is the National Working Committee that is duly recognized by INEC. Forget about the fake Lamidi Apapa lineup that have also produced their state working committee. But the truth remains that in INEC file, they have Abure as their as the recognized faction, so to speak.
But there's a court order that has.
I'm coming to that. I'm coming to that. When there is a court order that disbands a national working committee, what usually happens is that the National Executive Council meets immediately, and under their watch, they either bring a caretaker committee. Usually a caretaker committee is constituted, and then that continue to run until a national convention. You don't just bring a national working committee of a party from the backyard and impose it on them. Granted that the court says, look, Abure, you are no longer recognized by the pronouncement of the court. Now you still need to change Abure's National Working Committee members that with their list in the INEC. INEC has not been informed duly, and it is the National Executive Committee that constitutes a caretaker committee, not a different national committee that is emerging from the blues. There must be a national convention for any national working committee of the Labour Party to be valid. Otherwise, what we expect is that after the pronouncement of the court, the National Executive Committee will meet and raise a caretaker committee. Anything short of that is illegal. So both the Lamidi Apapa National Working Committee and those that are sponsoring them, they are doing something that is illegal. I didn't say that the court didn't remove Abure, but the chance to appeal is always there. Has he appealed?
So how will this affect the chances of the Labour Party at the polls proper? And do you see more legal fireworks after the elections? Because,
of course,
because in this kind of situations in Nigeria, we've seen elected officials sacked on technical grounds, and definitely this is looking like one of such. So, what are the chances of the Labour Party?
Now, you want to let us settle this matter. The Constitution is there as our reference point. And then, of course, the party constitution is also there as a reference point. And I can't remember any party whose constitution stipulates that a national working committee could emerge from any other platform other than the National Convention. That is the statutory position of the constitution, of the party constitution. I am saying that, granted that the court ruling on the National Working Committee of Labour Party is valid and they have opportunity to appeal, let them appeal. And what that means is that if their appeal sails through, it means that everything stands the way it was. The status quo ante is maintained until the court of competent jurisdiction must have determined the appeal. The outcome of the appeal, of course, still gives window for Supreme Court to come into the matter. But be that as it may, we may not want to go through the legal wrong. For now, we are saying, if the court have sacked the National Party, Labour Party chairman, the right thing to do is for the National Executive Committee to meet and raise a caretaker committee immediately, pending on when the party will now call for national convention.
But the national chairman heads the National Executive Committee. The national chairman heads the National Executive Committee, and now that the court has given him an order banning him from parading himself as the national chairman, how does he meet with the
I want to believe that the Labour Party
to constitute a caretaker committee?
Exactly. I want to believe that the Labour Party has a very sound legal department that should offer legal advice in a situation like this. But if you ask me, from my own layman's point of view, I would say that the Labour Party should appeal.
All right.
That's all. With the space of the appeal, it simply means the status quo ante subsists. Meaning Barrister Abure is still the national chairman. While the appeal lasts. But in the meantime, as the man that has the right to call for National Executive Committee, then they can now call National Executive Committee and constitute the caretaker committee. But my thinking is that they are looking at the Abure National Working Committee does not see anything implicating in the ruling of the FCT Magistrate Court or High Court, whichever. They do not see anything dangerous as it affects their National Working Committee.
All right. So another layman actually said that at the end of the day, are you sure that Labour Party would emerge and bring out a candidate? Do you agree?
Well, what is happening to Labour Party is very, very common with every other party. One time or the other, the PDP must have passed through that, either at the national level or the state level. So also the APC, as a party, they must have suffered one a structural defect one time or the other.
Or family feud.
And therefore, I believe that Labour Party will come out from this and become stronger.
All right.
Okay, now I'd like to talk about some security matters here. Now, okay, just during the electioneering period, somebody said, have you noticed that there has been no bandit attacks, no train attack, nothing of such? And somebody replied that there has been no attacks because their sponsors are busy with the electioneering process. Now the elections has been settled, at least in most of the states, and the attacks are back. Recently there was an attack in Benue State. Now 22 has been killed in fresh attack in southern Kaduna. And I would want to I would want to cast the mind of Nigerians back to the fact that President Muhammadu Buhari openly promised Nigerians that he is on the top of his agenda is the fact that he wants to hand over a very, very safe Nigeria to the incoming administration. This series of attacks negates these promises that President Muhammadu Buhari has made. What's your take on this?
Yeah, two things has happened during this period of electioneering. One, don't forget that just about the time we're going into this electioneering, cashless policy was introduced, which to some extent revealed the unpreparedness of the central bank, the regulating agency. So they actually beat themselves up to prove that they were not ready for the cashless policy. Then you can now bring in the electioneering period, which actually got many people busy, you know, to face the election. I believe during electioneering, everyone is focused towards winning election. And like as I used to tell people, in all these constituencies, whether federal or senatorial zone or state constituencies, you would see that the most affected area of security challenge, those that are perpetrating that act are themselves voters. And during this period, the man that is in charge of that area would not excuse himself from knowing those that operate, whether they are good or bad. They are his constituents, so he knows them. I was saying this to in one forum where they were accusing the senator representing Borno South, Senator APC senator, I remember his name. They were accusing him of being knowing Boko Haram. Don't forget that his place is heavily infested with those Boko Haram elements. And then I was waiting for him to deny that he doesn't know them. He didn't deny it because he knows some of them. He may not know all of them. But as he goes about canvassing for votes, he encounters the good, the bad, and the ugly within his constituency. To that extent, he knows almost everyone that is there. So he could raise his phone and say, please, Kenneth, you know we are together in this, please. I wish you guys would just cool down, let us do this. You know, that's one. That was part of the reason why some of those, you know, this election in some areas was laden with violence. And who do you use for this violent activity? I was wondering those who apprehended the mistaken identity of a rake in Adamawa, because the man they beat to stupor was not the rake that's supposed to be beaten. You know, I was wondering those who did the defeat, where they took him to, and had the heyday in dealing with him the way they like. And also the DSS guy, I saw a video where he was placed in the back of a Hilux truck, and they were questioning him and he was answering. And I was wondering the type of guys they were that were able to overpower a DSS official. I think he's the second in command in Adamawa. So you discover that the bad boys are still in town. But something really took them away, and then of course some of them, when they kidnapped, there was no cash in town to settle them, so it was not a good business. You know? Thank you so much for your time with us, Obadiah Mbila. It's always a pleasure having this discussion with you. Once again. Thank you, it's my pleasure. Alright viewers, that's where we'll go to our social media corner as we have this particular picture and story or report that trended all through last weekend. Highest paid footballer in League One, that's Akaf Hakimi's wife, filed for divorce, demands half of his properties, but found out that he got no property. Nothing property. All right, so and then there's another one coming from that report. I've actually received lots of comments, plenty of them. And then on the flip side, you have Akaf Hakimi set to get half of his wife's net worth after she filed for divorce. Gbasgbos, like I said, it looks like a Gbasgbos day. It's looking like it's going to be a double loss for Hiba Abok, the wife of PSG and Moroccan defender
Akaf Hakimi after she filed for divorce. So she did hers, and he went around to do his own. Then some comments coming from some people. You have, like I said, you have way too many coming from loads of people, and this one says okay, let's believe that one. Looks very contradictory. But then you have Rema, who has come out to make statements in that regard. Okay, I'm trying not to take some comments that are coming forth. So you have I beg your pardon. Okay, so this one from Wesley Kihande says, Akaf Hakimi has proved by actions to many of us that the woman you are dating or you are married will never be your relative. Only your mother or sister is a relative. Like I said, he came out with so many things. And then P Square, that's Peter of P Square, says, my own views and opinion. I don't understand why most men are rejoicing over this Hakimi story. Like, I don't get it. The truth is bitter but needs to be told. If you don't trust her, then don't marry. As simple as that. Or are you expecting your wife to suffer after divorce? And like I said, Rema came out to say, I made my first 1 million naira at 17 and handed everything to my mother. So what is your point, please? What's your point? Anyway, let me leave that story. I think we've actually overshot our time. So thank you so much, viewers, for listening. Thank you to all of you who made your calls and contributions. We appreciate them deeply. We'll bring you so many more stories after this time out. Keep watching KAFTAN TV. Till I come here again from the nation's capital, Abuja, I am Annabel Orji.
And I am Francis Adeniyi. You do well to have a beautiful week ahead of you.